The daughter was born just 1 day ago. My wife left the hospital room after recording a video for me. She told me, "Husband, I felt a mysterious calling to save the earth. Goodbye until we meet again." This is the 999th time she has left like this in 5 years of marriage, just to enjoy a world of two with her friend. When I arrived at the hospital, found the daughter covered by the blanket, difficulty in breathing, almost had an accident. Later, the daughter was sent to the intensive care unit. However, the wife and her friend were passionately kissing in the pool when the daughter's life was hanging by a thread. His wife and her friends were dancing by the seaside. Until the daughter is discharged from the hospital, the wife just brought home a magic wand. "Husband, I went to the world of the fairy castle this time. This magic wand is a gift from Little Blue the fairy for the baby." I don't know what to say. On the day of the daughter's Juaju ceremony, after I recorded a video, it was as if my daughter and I vanished in place. I felt a calling with her, preparing to return to the 1980s. Rest assured, I will remind you to buy more properties. While changing the diaper for my daughter, my wife Emily suddenly sent me a video. "Husband, I felt the Pegasus meteor shower calling to me again. Prepare to save the earth. Let's meet again when destiny allows." I was taken aback for a moment. A trace of anger flashed through my mind. Here it comes again. The daughter has just been born. How could she do this? I became even more angry. Emily had lost count of how many times she had sneakily slipped away using this ridiculous excuse. Thinking of my daughter alone in the hospital, I hurriedly made my way to the hospital, carrying the chicken soup. When I arrived, only faint cries from the daughter were heard. I quickly pulled back the covers. Her face had turned blue and purple from the strain. I immediately picked up my daughter. I sensed that her body temperature was somewhat abnormal. I realized that something was off, so I hurriedly took my daughter to the hospital. "Doctor, please help me take a look at my daughter. Her cries have become very faint. The body is covered in yellowish-green vomit." The doctor saw this situation, immediately frowned. He said hurriedly, "Why did you bring her here at this time?" He suspected that the child might have intestinal obstruction. There are also issues with the respiratory system. Hurry and take her to the operating room. After speaking, the doctor took my daughter from my hands, quickly walked towards the operating room. Seeing that my daughter is on the verge of not being able to go on, I feel very guilty. At this moment, a nurse walked over with a stack of registration forms. "Ask me where the mother of my baby is." She said she needed to know some information about the baby in order to prepare properly for the surgery. Upon hearing these words, I clenched my fist tightly. Gritting his teeth, he said, "What would you like to know?" Despite asking me what exactly happened, "The baby is so seriously ill. Where is my mother?" the nurse asked, dissatisfied. "She passed away during childbirth." I tried to suppress the pain inside me. The voice answered somewhat choked. "What?" The nurse apologized. A hint of sympathy emerged in her eyes. "Sir, you need to be strong. Please rest assured. We will do our utmost to treat the baby. Thank you." My eyes are slightly red. At this moment, I would rather Emily encounter an accident during childbirth than see this kind of situation. I paced nervously at the door of the operating room. At that moment, my phone rang. I took a look. It turns out that Emily posted a new update on her Weibo account. She said that I looked most charming right after giving birth. The accompanying photo is of her playing in the water with Lucas. Lucas was kissing her belly. Feeling a bit uncomfortable, after I got together with Emily, she discovered that her physical condition was not very good. So I always prepare some healthy and nutritious food for her to help her recover. She is comparison afraid of the cold. I won't let her wear too little. Try to avoid letting her come into contact with water. Therefore, Emily expressed her dissatisfaction with my excessive control over her. If there is really common sense, sincerely care about her, how could Lucas let her go into the water right after giving birth? Doesn't he know how much this affects her body? At this moment, doctors and nurses kept coming in and out of the intensive care unit. My heart tightened with anxiety. At the moment I saw the ventilator connected to my daughter, it feels as though countless arrows are piercing my heart. I feel very painful. I truly wish I could go to the intensive care unit in place of my daughter. Mr. Smith, this is the informed consent form for critical care. Please sign here. My legs went weak. I felt as if all my strength had vanished in an instant. I signed my name with trembling hands. At this moment, Emily's alternate Weibo account has posted another message. Embracing the sea with you, the picture shows her holding hands with Lucas. The door to the intensive care unit opened. The doctor emerged with a serious expression. Mr. Smith, the child is out of danger, but the situation is still not very good. Further observation is needed. You need to be mentally prepared. Upon hearing these words, my heart sank. It feels like all the energy has been drained away. Under the guidance of the nurse, I carried out a thorough disinfection. Just entered the sterile intensive care unit, seeing my daughter's face pale. I made up my mind, this wife. I do not want to continue this relationship. Just came out of the intensive care unit. He ran into his arriving mother-in-law. She said Emily has just given birth. Don't tell her about this for now. Let her take time to rest and recuperate. I heard this. The complexion is a bit off. What is there to rest and recuperate from? She almost had an accident with the child at that time. The mother-in-law was taken aback, clearly aware of what Emily is doing. So she slightly tightened her lips. It is said, Emily just had a baby for you. Go out and relax a bit. Why bother being so calculative? If she leaves, can't you take care of the child properly? It's really disappointing. That's all. My mother-in-law no longer looks at me. Instead, she turned her attention to her daughter in the intensive care unit. A hint of tenderness appeared on his face, thinking in my heart, poor little granddaughter. How did I end up with such a dad? Listening to the subtle sarcasm in my mother-in-law's words, I choose silence. I have become accustomed to this situation. That year I had an accident in the wilderness. It was Emily's dad who saved me, to repay his kindness. I decided to marry Emily and try to be good to her. However, he passed away the following year. Before passing away, I hope that Emily and I can have a child. The wish has now been fulfilled. My wish has been fulfilled. Seeing my daughter sleeping continuously in the intensive care unit, the mother-in-law, feeling a bit bored, went straight home. I am sitting outside the intensive care unit, day and night, guarding my daughter, dare not take a break at all. The daughter's condition has finally improved, but it wasn't until the daughter recovered and was discharged from the hospital. Emily did not show up. However, her secondary Weibo account posted several updates. I returned home alone with my daughter. The hired maternity nanny has been dismissed by my mother-in-law. John, you are not working again. Why spend that money? Anyway, you can take care of the child by yourself. I do not object. All attention was focused on the daughter. Even so, the daughter still has trouble getting used to drinking formula. The body has become very weak. Every night, she will wake up and cry shortly after falling asleep. I can only accompany her through one sleepless night after another. I can hardly contain my emotions. What's worse is, I still have to face Lucas's provocation. He always says, John, your wife sleeps very soundly. Did you know she just gave birth? The body feels especially relaxed, smells of milk, the things that your daughter wasn't able to eat. I've eaten it all. Then, I also received a recording. The recording contains the voices of Emily and Lucas. It sounds like they should be very happy, even if it feels very sad inside. I couldn't help but open Emily's secondary Weibo account. Take a look at the updates she posted recently. I didn't overlook any of the comments. Some people say, Sister Emily, I really envy you. Getting married still feels free. Some people also say, then you should find an honest person and marry them. Just cheer him up a bit. He definitely believes. However, they all know it too. There are really not many honest men, some people say. If I had known there were secret techniques, I can teach you. I also saw her secret manuals. I was originally just a successful result that she cultivated. At this moment, I feel very cold inside. Lying on the bed, I keep tossing and turning but can't fall asleep. Daybreak. The doorbell rang. Husband, you know, this time I went to the world of the magic fairy castle. The fairy Zyanglan asked me to bring this fairy wand as a gift for the baby. Emily finished speaking. He threw the cheap fairy wand in his hand to me. I waved it away dismissively. She acted as if she didn't see it. That's right. Lucas said he wants to see the baby, so I picked him up along the way. Saying that, Emily pulled Lucas, who was behind her, in front of me. He asked me, "You wouldn't mind, would you, dear?" I didn't speak, just opened the door for them. A glimmer of satisfaction appeared in Emily's eyes. I feel that becoming a father has made me much more tolerant. I just glanced at him when I used to love her. I am very particular about many things. Now there is no longer love. Talking to them is annoying. Lucas listened to this, gave me a glance, appeared very dissatisfied. If being a dad means being so messy, then I should just not get married and have children. I think it's great to have Emily. Emily's child is also my child. Said, the two gazed at each other and smiled. I let out a cold laugh, thought, you are not worthy to have my daughter, John. As soon as the words were spoken, Lucas looked at Emily with a face full of grievance. Emily immediately frowned and reprimanded me. You have a problem. Why make trouble for everyone? The child I gave birth to with great effort. I said Lucas is qualified. He is qualified. I was just saying that you are a bit untidy. All set now. You are not only unclean, even the heart and mouth have become impure. I really dislike it. Go away quickly. After speaking, she pushed me away. Walk into the room to take care of the child. Lucas looked at me proudly. I did not pay attention to him, gently organizing her daughter's small clothes. Lucas seemed a bit unhappy. What are you pretending? Do you think you're impressive? It is just a pet of the Smith family. I didn't say anything. He carefully ironed his daughter's clothes until they were smooth. Lucas was a bit angry. She said, John, you are really useless. You know how many positions your wife and I have been in. Emily said, being with you is too boring. Oh, I responded lightly, since it's so boring, just let her divorce me. I can accept it at any time, however. If you can't do these things, just don't say any more, you. Lucas was left red-faced by my retort. The eyes were full of dissatisfaction. Emily and I were enjoying this intense atmosphere. Oh, I said expressionlessly. Watch me remain unaffected. Lucas's expression became even worse. Okay. Lucas let out a cold laugh. He directly snatched the iron from my hand. He pressed down on his own arm. Ah, it hurts so much. John, how could you iron me with the iron? The iron instantly left a mark on Lucas's skin. What's going on? Emily rushed out of her daughter's room while shouting. The sound of the daughter's crying followed. I hurried to my daughter's room. Lucas was following closely behind me. He said to Emily with a face full of grievance, Emily, I know that John has never really liked me, but how can he do this? Directly pressed my arm with the iron. Speaking, Lucas showed his injured arm to Emily. Emily instantly showed a look of heartache. John, Emily glared at me in anger. The sound is very loud. However, I haven't had a chance to speak yet. Emily raised her hand and slapped my face hard. John, why are you being so excessive? I previously thought you had improved, but it seems that you are still as annoying as before, Emily said angrily. She exerted a lot of strength, caught me off guard. Plus, I've been staying up late every day recently to take care of my daughter. The body is very weak. Emily directly knocked him down to the ground. I feel very dizzy. My head is buzzing. John, I am really disappointed in you. Emily's voice echoed in my ear. I don't have time to explain. I held back and stood up, hurriedly ran to his daughter's room, seeing my daughter with a tear-stained, red face. I feel both pain and discomfort in my heart. Perhaps I should never have had any expectations for Emily. Lucas, let's go. Emily grasped Lucas's arm with sorrow. Left without looking back when leaving, Lucas glanced back at me. His eyes were filled with pride. Watching their figures retreat, my eyes involuntarily became red. It's okay, I also have a daughter. I held my daughter tightly. Soon, we are about to set off, however. I didn't expect Emily to come back with Lucas again that night. They were doing some private things in the room next to their daughter's bedroom. The sound even drowned out the daughter's cries. Emily, have you and John tried our current position? Lucas jokingly asked. Emily replied coldly. He can't do it. If he is unfriendly to you again in the future, I won't even give him a chance to get into bed. However, I don't care. For me, I don't want unclean people. After putting on the earplugs, I slept very well. Early morning, Lucas suddenly pushed open my bedroom door. John, Why are you still in bed as a son-in-law? There is no reason to be so leisurely. Hurry up and cook. Speaking, Lucas tilted his head slightly. Her face was filled with a gentle expression. John, you might not know it yet. Lucas paused for a moment. Their eyes were full of contempt and disdain. Emily told me, what she hates the most is your pitiable appearance. It seems like everyone owes you something. She thinks even the scent of a beggar is better than yours. This makes me want to vomit when I see you. I listened to these words, said nothing, walking towards the bathroom. Doesn't matter. I no longer take Emily's opinion to heart. But just as I turned on the faucet, the daughter began to cry loudly in her room. I felt a tension in my heart. Run over immediately. Seeing Lucas actually slapped his daughter hard. The daughter's little face immediately turned red. I charged forward while shouting. A swing of the hand is a punch aimed at Lucas. I can tolerate many things, but it is absolutely unacceptable for anyone to harm my daughter. At this moment, Emily suddenly rushed in. She grabbed the stool next to her, smashed down heavily towards my head. Speak loudly. John, you are so unreliable. Look at yourself. There's no difference from the small-time hoodlums on the street. Finished speaking. Emily picked up another vase, hit me hard on the head. The vase instantly shattered into many pieces. Blood started to flow from my head again. There has been a double vision in front of me. Tick-tock, tick-tock. A small blood stain appeared on the floor. Emily saw this scene. A hint of panic flashed in her eyes. She wants to help me stand up. However, at that moment, Lucas interrupted her. Emily, the wound on my arm suddenly hurt a lot. Emily immediately became very indifferent. John, think it over at home. I hope the baby's first birthday ceremony goes well tomorrow. You could behave more appropriately. You can rest assured. If you don't take action, I will never divorce you. After speaking, Emily left with Lucas again, without any attachment. Did Emily really think that I just wanted the title of having a husband? I couldn't help but sneer. I find all of this really revolting. I have long stopped wanting to be her husband. I casually wiped the blood from the corner of my eye with a tissue. Take out your phone and find the phone number of the host for your daughter's ICU ceremony. I discussed some adjustments to the process with her. I am preparing to give my wife a special gift. It is definitely the kind she will remember for the rest of her life. Next, I compiled some of Lucas's previous provocative chat records and updates from Emily's secondary Weibo account into a short film. Then it was sent to the host. After completing these tasks, I took out the property notarization agreement from the bedside cabinet that my father-in-law had signed before his death. It is written above. After my father-in-law passed away, he voluntarily left all his 80% of the property under his name to me. The effective date of the agreement coincides with the day of the daughter's ICU ceremony. I put away this agreement after receiving it. I threw all the gifts that Emily gave me into the trash bin downstairs. I no longer need these things, including Emily. Then, I took out my phone, booked 2 tickets for the fastest flight to the Maple Leaf Country. Looking at this room, there is nothing left for me to reminisce about. I headed straight to the airport with my daughter. No turning back. The next day, guests attending the daughter's birthday celebration filled the entire banquet hall. But I never showed up. Emily is very angry, but she found that no matter how she tried to call me, my phone numbers are all turned off. She was suddenly flustered. I feel that something is not right. She hurriedly drove home, just arrived downstairs. I suddenly received the scheduled email I sent. Emily's hand trembled slightly. Opened the email. The content mentions interstellar travel. My daughter and I have embarked on a new journey, never to be seen again. Seeing this, Emily's heart was suddenly filled with fury. John, you are really going too far, Emily said angrily. At that moment, Emily's mother-in-law called her. Emily, not good, come here quickly. The ICU ceremony has been completely ruined. Emily hurried to the banquet hall. I almost ran several red lights on the road. Just arrived there. There isn't even a moment to catch my breath. I saw that the large screen in the middle was playing scenes of Lucas and some rather unseemly moments. The scene immediately became chaotic. Everyone looked at her with disdain and mockery. People around were discussing among themselves. This made Emily feel particularly embarrassed. Emily saw the situation. He immediately shouted loudly at the host on the stage, "What are you still dawdling for? Turn this off quickly." However, no matter how the host acts, the video cannot be turned off. Even the LED screen cannot be forcibly turned off. This is because I had already embedded a virus program while making the microfilm. You must wait for the video to finish playing before you can stop it. A sweet travel video of Emily and Lucas in the intensive care unit with my daughter. The image of being hooked up to a ventilator creates a strong contrast. Notice for emergency rescue and informed consent for intensive care. Every time the nurse hands me the agreement, my tears have soaked the paper. Every time when signing, my heart feels like it's about to jump out. The poor little daughter lay helplessly on the operating table. At the end of this story, I wrote down my anger all night long. It also expresses my dissatisfaction with everything Emily has done over the past 5 years of marriage. In the final scene, I gently hugged my daughter and sat together. After 5 years of struggle, I finally came to my senses. Since you have never loved me, then let's let go of each other. From that time on, my daughter and I have no relationship with you anymore. The lights on the big screen dimmed. The guests at the scene felt quite emotional. Everyone's eyes are glistening with tears. The gaze was filled with compassion. How can Emily be a mother? Your own child is sick. She also travels with other men. John is really so unfortunate. I unexpectedly encountered such an irresponsible wife. Poor little girl, encountering such a mother. Fortunately, she has a father. Listening to everyone's criticisms, Emily's fury was completely extinguished. She stared blankly at the completely dark screen, felt a wave of guilt in my heart. It turns out that the daughter's condition was actually so serious at the beginning, she didn't expect it. Everything I've done in the past 5 years. She actually knows it all too well. She thought she was hiding it well. In fact, I've seen through everything a long time ago. Her behavior is becoming more and more excessive, more intense each time. She believes that I have long since lost the desire to resist. Actually, I have just become numb, no longer harboring any hope for her. The image of her daughter in the intensive care unit always lingers in Emily's mind. I didn't mean to. Can you forgive Mom? I'm sorry, baby. Emily spoke to herself. Tears flowed uncontrollably. At this moment, she was only thinking about one thing: go home. So, Emily couldn't take the time to tidy up the banquet hall. Hurrying home while driving all the way, she accelerated madly. The accelerator was pushed to 200. However, when she arrived home, I found that there was not a single person at home. Emily was a bit flustered. She searched in every room. Even the kitchen wasn't spared. However, no matter how hard she tries, still can't find any clues about me and my daughter. She looked at the ring on the coffee table in the living room, completely desperate inside. That was when we got married. She personally put the wedding ring on my finger. Now I don't want it anymore. Emily had an emotional breakdown, began to cry in pain. John, baby, I'm sorry, she shouted loudly. At this moment, her phone rang. It shows that it was a call from her secretary. Emily, bad news. Our group's 80% shares are gone. Just press the answer button. The secretary hurriedly started to speak. Emily could only hurriedly wipe away the tears on her face. Head towards Smith Group. See Emily. The members of the board immediately changed their expressions. Emily, you are truly astonishing. They actually held such a wonderful joyeux ceremony for their daughter. It is indeed the case. The entire group stock has hit the limit down. It is truly surprising. You should take the initiative to resign yourself. A week later, our new chairman will be returning from abroad. Begin to take control of the situation. In the face of their criticism, Emily just pursed her lips slightly, remained silent. She didn't know what to say. After all, this matter is indeed her fault. She agreed to the board's request for her dismissal. However, Emily is a bit confused. What kind of person is this new chairman? Actually owns shares of Smith Group 80. This is truly hard to understand. Emily was deep in thought, walking to the door, met the mother-in-law who was hurrying over. Where is John? How could he get into such big trouble? I ruined my granddaughter's first birthday celebration. That's really too much. This person really messed things up. Even the position of chairman cannot be held on to. Upon hearing this, Emily looked at her mother-in-law with a cold gaze. Ask her about the time when the baby was in the intensive care unit. Why don't you take care of her with John? How can you still have the audacity to blame me? The mother-in-law scoffed. You went out to have fun yourself, still daring to blame others. Are you all complaining about me? Upon hearing these words, Emily let out a bitter laugh in her heart. Yes, even her mother called John useless. What will others think she really can't imagine? In the past 5 years, John has endured countless cold glances and injustices. This is entirely her fault. Emily angrily stared at the woman in front of her. Tell her to shut up. John is my husband. You can't say that about him. Hearing this, the mother-in-law sneered, say, what husband? There isn't even a marriage certificate, let alone expecting me to accept a useless person as my son-in-law. Such a person. It's better to not be in the world at all. Looking at my mother-in-law's proud expression, Emily was a bit lost in thought. I didn't expect her mother to be so harsh. Emily didn't even dare to think, if John is here, what will happen? No wonder John chose to leave. Emily walked out the door in a daze. No matter how they call her from behind, she didn't look back. She is very scared, even afraid to return to that empty home. She has nowhere to go, can only linger in the bar in order to numb oneself. Emily drinks until she loses consciousness every day. At the same time, after my daughter and I returned to the house in Maple Leaf Country, I immediately contacted the most well-known lawyer in the area. All the assets left by the father-in-law were transferred to his own name. I also hired a nutritionist, a child care specialist, and a nanny. It's all for the service of the daughter, I believe. Leave that cold and unwelcoming home. The daughter will definitely grow up healthy and happy. I no longer think about the past. Put all your energy into your work. Before marriage, I am a very outstanding business newcomer. After getting married, I became a full-time stay-at-home person to take care of the family for Emily. I am now re-entering the business world. However, I didn't feel uncomfortable. On the contrary, I feel very at ease. I really enjoy this kind of life. Actually, I prefer the feeling of having everything under my control. After detailing everything about the Maple Leaf Country to the assistant, I booked a flight ticket to City A. Emily, I really want to know how you will react when you see me again. It is a smile, tears, still angry. I'm really a bit curious. Meanwhile, on the other side, Emily's life is very difficult. She didn't dare to think back on the matters between my daughter and me. But every time I get completely drunk, I can't help but always think about returning to the home we once had. She especially hopes that my daughter and I can suddenly appear there. However, she always feels disappointed. Today, Emily stumbled through the door of her house once again. I saw the bright living room. A hint of surprise flashed in Emily's eyes. John, baby, you guys are back, right? Emily immediately ran towards the bedroom, opened the door. She found that Lucas was wearing her pajamas, just came out of the bathroom. Emily, you are back. Lucas excitedly pulled Emily to the edge of the bed. Emily saw this situation. Wake up immediately. The feeling of drunkenness has also disappeared. How did you come here? Why are you wearing my husband's pajamas? Emily's expression was cold. Emily, why are you so strict? Lucas feels a bit wronged. Then, Emily raised her hand, gave him a hard slap. You guy, you speak. Why did you send those things to my husband? Are you trying to make him upset on purpose? Lucas was taken aback. A glimmer of disbelief flashed in his eyes. This is the first time Emily has treated her this way. Lucas's eyes couldn't help but turn red. Emily, don't talk. Emily interrupted Lucas. You should leave quickly. I never want to see you again. Emily pushed hard. Lucas fell to the ground all of a sudden. Looking at Emily's cold demeanor, Lucas felt a wave of dissatisfaction rise within him. He couldn't understand why Emily was so indifferent to him. Does she no longer love him? Lucas hurriedly put on his clothes. He suddenly pushed the door open and walked out. Only Emily was left in the room. She is lying on the bed, taking a deep breath of the scent on the pillow, but they can't smell my scent. Emily couldn't help but shed tears. She really misses me. It turns out she had already fallen for me. Emily felt very regretful. She really wants to go back to the past. Unfortunately, this is of no help. Emily fell into a deep sleep. It wasn't dawn yet. Emily was woken up. She saw the phone screen was flashing continuously, could not help but furrow my brow. "What is going on?" Emily's voice is a bit hoarse. "Sister Emily, why haven't you arrived at the company yet? The new chairman is coming soon. Hurry up." Emily is a bit tired, rubbed their forehead. My head still feels a bit heavy, hurriedly headed to the company. At this moment, all members of the board are standing at the door, waiting for the arrival of the new director. Emily quietly stood at the end of the line. "I heard that our new chairman is very handsome. I have heard about it too. It feels quite good. You know that he has children." Everyone is discussing in low voices, but Emily did not say anything, just looking down at the tips of his shoes. A voice suddenly rose from the crowd, welcoming the new chairman. The sound. Emily looked up. It turned out to be the person she had been missing for a long time. She was stunned in disbelief. At this moment he is no longer the scruffy beggar in pajamas. I am wearing an expensive custom suit, with a stern expression. There is also a group of bodyguards following closely, slowly walked into the company. Emily saw me. She has never seen such a dazzling side of me. Until I walked in front of her, she just realized. "John, are you back?" Emily tightly grips my clothes. The voice was somewhat shaky. I listened to her words, gave her a casual glance, feeling very indifferent. "Just call me Mr. Smith." The bodyguard saw this scene, immediately take Emily aside. We walked into the boardroom. I directly sat down in the main seat. Emily saw this scene. The expression was somewhat bewildered, frozen in place, until the entire meeting is over. Emily was still staring blankly at me. "John." Emily slowly walked towards me. Her eyes were filled with tears. She looks much older than before. There are some fine lines at the corners of the eyes. The clothes on him also carried a scent of alcohol. In just 1 week, the change between Emily and me is like heaven and earth. Emily opened her mouth, but didn't say anything. "You want to know why I own shares in Smith Group 80? I gave a cold smile. Before my father-in-law passed away, they specifically left a copy of the asset donation agreement for me. The effective date of this agreement is the day of the daughter's birthday ceremony. I have always wanted to tell you these things, but these years you haven't had time to talk to me at all. You have never considered me and our daughter in your heart. You are even unwilling to be legally married to me. Otherwise, how could these shares only be owned by me?" Hearing this sentence, Emily began to tremble all over uncontrollably. "No, it's not like that," Emily said softly, eyes filled with guilt and regret. At that moment, the mother-in-law suddenly disregarded the bodyguard's obstruction, rushed in. "John, how dare you come back? What despicable means are you using? All the shares of Smith Group have been removed. I must reveal your true self in front of everyone today." My mother-in-law looked at me angrily. The eyes were filled with resentment. After hearing these words, I laughed mockingly. He casually waved to the secretary beside him. The secretary immediately placed the property agreement sent by my father-in-law and a slightly yellowed note on the table. "You can take a look for yourself. You will understand once you finish reading. Actually, the Smith Group originally belongs to me, because I am the true heir of the Smith family." Upon hearing this, the mother-in-law showed a hint of surprise on her face. "What do you mean by that?" she asked in confusion. Then it seemed to realize something. The expression on their face changed suddenly. The mother-in-law's lips trembled. The eyes were full of disbelief. "This is impossible. When I broke up with him back then, he is gone." This matter left the mother-in-law shaking her head in shock. "Cannot believe it, really." I let out a cold smile. "In fact, my mother passed away after giving birth to me. Emily's mother acts for her own benefit, abandoned me, swapped my daughter Emily for me. I am not dead." The sound of crying attracted a nurse. She saw my small body lying on the cold table, very heartbroken, so they took me back home. "Raise it like your own child." Later, I accidentally saved my father-in-law. He always gives me a sense of familiarity. After a period of observation, he noticed that I look very much like my mother, so I secretly took my hair to do a paternity test. It turns out that he and I are biological father and son. But he didn't confirm that it was Emily's mom who lost me. I thought the hospital had mixed up the babies. Moreover, in these years, Emily's mom acted particularly well in front of my dad, So my dad decided to have Emily marry me and give all the assets to me. The subsequent events were uncovered by me on my own. Seeing this situation, Emily's mother completely broke down. She slumped down on the ground. I never thought that I wouldn't die by accident. No, how is this possible? Emily swayed slightly, took 2 steps back before standing firm. He asked excitedly, "You are a child of the Smith family. What about me? Who am I? After all, who is my dad?" Tears shimmered in the eyes. The tone was filled with barely suppressed emotions. My mother-in-law ran towards me, crying. I hastily said that things were not like this back then. She knows nothing. It wasn't done by her either. I saw her like this. I feel a bit uncomfortable. Quickly dodge to the side. What you do is ultimately a reflection of who you are. The police will get to the bottom of it. The mother-in-law was taken aback for a moment. She didn't expect me to be so decisive. She said, "John, I am your wife's mother. It is your mother-in-law. We should be one family. You can't treat me like this. I am still your child's grandmother." I gave her a cold glance. "Tell her my daughter doesn't need a grandma like her." Just as we were speaking, the police have arrived. Listening to my mother-in-law's crying, she was taken away. I looked at all of this coldly. I feel particularly refreshed. Maybe this is the best possible outcome. A door completely separates the family relationship between Emily and me. Outside the door, I feel reborn. Inside the door, they were left only with despair. I quickly took care of everything, immediately returned to the Maple Leaf country. It's been a few days since we last met. I miss my daughter very much. I gently picked up my daughter. I am ready to take her out for some fresh air. At that moment, I received a call from the secretary at Smith Group. "Say, Mr. Smith, Miss Emily has passed away. Your mother-in-law has been seriously injured in prison." "Really? What happened?" I asked coldly. "Emily had a fight with Lucas after getting drunk. She said she just finds Lucas very simple, just play around. Lucas was furious, stabbed her, then chose to commit suicide." Hearing this, I feel very regretful. The assistant continued speaking. "And your mother-in-law, everyone knows that she has connections with human traffickers. Some women were beaten badly by her. I heard that her health condition has become very poor. Are you planning to come back to deal with Miss Emily's matters?" I was silent for 2 seconds, then spoke to the person on the other end of the phone. "Not planning to go back. After all, Emily is the biological mother of my daughter, so please take her to the funeral home. After cremation, the ashes will be scattered in the sea. She loves freedom so much. You should like this arrangement. As for Emily's mother, if she is released, she could be considered for admission to a psychiatric hospital. Human traffickers should not have a good ending." After hanging up the phone, I began to tease my daughter's small face, see her smile. I also laugh. "Great, our future is filled with hope and brilliance."